There really isn't a limit to how full on you might want to be with your budget. Where you store your money when you're saving and paying down debt is important. And today I'm going to be talking about a method that might be worth adopting into your own financial setup depending on how you structure your own finances. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reese, and in today's video I'm going to be discussing the topic of how to manage your money when you only have access to a single standalone offset bank account. And what I talk about today will apply to anyone with a limited number of bank accounts. However, it will definitely hone in more and specifically be tied to anyone who has access to a single offset bank account tied to their mortgage. Everyone within Australia knows the name Scott Pape, and if they haven't heard that name or it doesn't sound too familiar, they've probably heard of his book, which is known as The Barefoot Investor. If you haven't, here is the 14th video I ever made for this channel. Feel free to go and learn about that topic by a much more awkward me on camera. Anyway, in this book, the world of buckets are introduced to the reader and their finances. And for those who don't know, buckets in simple terms is when you set up multiple bank accounts which all serve a specific purpose. So you might have one for just everyday spending. You might have one for your bills, one for your holiday spending, and one for your house deposit that you might be trying to save up. Now, I doubt that it was Scott that came up with the concept of buckets. However, a big focus of the book is incorporating buckets into your financial system. And truthfully, these really will be the pillars for any young person who is trying to get their finances in check. I started using a bucket system from a very young age. My mum worked in a bank and I was taught the value of money and how to kind of manage it from a very young age. However, after reading this book, I actually fine-tuned my bucket system to work more effectively for the money that I was earning at the time. And now, almost 6 years later, at the time of recording this video, I have an extremely effective budget that allows me to save a large portion of my take-home pay every single time that money is injected into my bank account. And I've set rules which determines how money goes in and comes out of those bank accounts, and the outcome from that is that my relationship with money has never been healthier. So let's move on now to the guts of today's video, and I'm going to start by talking about how I actually structure my own mortgage just for context. For my mortgage, I have a number of offset bank accounts which reduces the amount of interest that I have to pay the bank depending on how much money is in those accounts at any one time. And just as a side note, offset bank accounts are a relatively easy concept to grasp, but for those who are unfamiliar, I suggest going and watching this video down here to get more context surrounding what they are if you are someone who would be moving into the space that actually needs to understand what they are. I've left a link to the video down in the description below, and now would be a really good opportunity to quickly hit that like and subscribe button as well. It really helps the channel grow, and I really appreciate the support. Anyway, only a handful of banks offer the ability to have multiple offset bank accounts depending on who your mortgage is with. And this can be frustrating and difficult to manage a bucket system. What's laid out in this book says to have multiple accounts for the purpose of breaking up your wage into them. It's impossible to do that if you only have access to one account, which is where you want your money, because offsetting a mortgage is definitely an important thing to do. And the flow-on effect from this can be even more negative impacts, because realistically, if you can't see where your money is being allocated, you just see one big number, you don't actually see the breakup of what is being allocated to what account. And the outcome of that is that you can pretty much let your spending go unchecked, and it can definitely be detrimental to your future financial goals. I actually have a friend who was stuck in this position. He wanted to introduce a budgeting system, but he only had access to one offset bank account. He ran with the logic of, as long as more money goes into my account than what comes out, I'm good. But that wasn't factoring in things like unforeseen expenses, emergencies, and anything that kind of wasn't planned, like new and additional expenses as well coming online. That quickly backfired, because what he realized was he would spend a large chunk of his take-home pay, and his spending would be quite sporadic, and if money built up, he would also spend that, and basically he was unable to save and make a dent in the kind of situation that he was trying to get himself out of. He wanted to budget, but couldn't effectively with his one single offset account. And this essentially left him with nothing in savings each fortnight for a period of time, until he realized, oh man, I need to change what I'm doing. Otherwise, I'm basically going to be paycheck to paycheck for the foreseeable future. And this is where I introduced the concept of virtual bank accounts, where your money can still be held in a single bank account, but have the same effect as if it was spread between multiple, like this bucket system described in this book here. This should give you full control of the allocation of money in that single account, whilst it not changing your financial system around in a way that is detrimental to your mortgage and the repayments you're going to make to your bank. I like to use a personal tracking spreadsheet for many different purposes. However, one of my favorite things to do when I'm paid is break up my salary into my buckets and track them virtually. This, without a doubt, is the way to do it if you only have access to one offset. As you can see in my mock-up example template here, I have set up 5 buckets highlighted in yellow. You can see with my made up salary of $3,050 per fortnight, after I take out the $50 for my emergency fund, I'm left with $3,000 to break up into these accounts. You can see the values fluctuate per pay cycle, which would be normal as you would spend from specific accounts depending on what you had going on at the time. And this mockup was taken straight from my own personal finance tracking spreadsheet. I've actually made the full version available for free through this video here, which is also the tutorial of how to use it. Feel free to use that resource if you wish. I have linked it in the description down below. The take home from this example though is that you can have all of your money sitting in one bank account, but have the understanding of how every dollar contained within is set to be used for a specific purpose. It only takes me about 10 minutes a fortnight to update this spreadsheet, so there isn't a lot of manual labor and it's not overbearing to do it. And it's kind of rewarding as well, seeing all of those accounts over time grow in a way that really encourages me to keep doing what I'm doing. It is very rewarding seeing progress being made over time, and it's something that really keeps me motivated to do what I'm doing. Now, of course, I'm not saying that my spreadsheet is the best way to do this. It's just a way that works best for me. I don't really care what method you use. You could write it down on paper or use a third-party app. There are lots of different solutions. Just find the one that is best suited to your needs. If you are someone who only has access to a single offset bank account, or if you're unfortunate enough to only have access to one bank account just in general, I would highly encourage you to implement something similar to a virtual bucket system into your finances, because your budget, your savings, and just your money management in general will never be better. It truly will keep you on track whilst on your journey to be in full control of your budget, your savings, and in general, your finances. And that is pretty much all I have for you today. Hopefully I've taught you something. Hopefully you've had a think about the topic that I've talked about and might see some practicality in implementing it into your own life. That is pretty much all I have. If you liked it, hit that like and subscribe button down below, and I will leave you there. Have a good day, have a good week, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.